Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Madden God podcast. I'm Max, your host, and I'm here with the one and only, the incomparable and inimitable, and I mean, the wonderful Roxanne. Hi, Roxy.
Hello, Max. Thank you again for the wonderful intro.
Well, yeah, you really are a one of the kind. Well, we are all one of the kind, but I mean, you're expressing it in a particular way, and it's always a pleasure and always a privilege to be with you.
Good. Well, I appreciate that. And thank you so much. Very good.
So we
It's
are
really awesome that
going.
we get to, real quick, it was really awesome that we get to align with certain frequencies or realities. It really provides a platform of nourishment, a palette of nourishment that you can really explore off of. That's what, that's what this is. So let's go.
Yes. So, as we said, and now we deliver, we said that we're going to talk about mediumship.
Yeah, last week we talked about, well, we're continuing our ideas of abilities um, in the spiritual idea world and things that we can manifest and hone. And now we're moving on to mediumship. So, how about we start here? How about we start here? Max, give me your definition of mediumship. Don't go to that mind of yours. Go to that intuition of yours. Don't search that
It's
memory. It can
the
help. It's a
it
compliment,
can
but it
help,
isn't the
yeah.
finite. It isn't the finite.
The connectivity, the connection with it's commonly called the spiritual word, the word of the spirit.
The
But
world,
we
word or world?
word,
WORD?
WUOL, yes, yes, exactly. Word,
World, like Earth.
yes, exactly.
Okay, world.
That
Got
idea
it.
of
The spiritual world. I got you.
spiritual, and but that now we can, right, refer to the connection with those that have left us,
Those
talking
that
with
have what?
them, connection,
Oh, connection.
communication, yeah,
Yeah, with
communication, and
the
so with those
spiritual
that have left.
world. Okay, keep going.
So and it's expressed in a different way. There are people that will do spiritual or how do you call them,
Seance?
um seance, yes, exactly, with right at the table, everyone giving each other the hands, and then spirits, are you there, and so one answers. Or you have people that can see or hear directly the spirits, the dead, and receive messages and deliver them directly, right?
Yeah.
There isn't just one way of expressing it. There are many, as always, and everyone is using their ability in a different way, I
I
would
think
say.
channeling is kind of like a mediumship. It's like you're a conduit from that world to this world. So I think that's can fit into the category of mediumship. As although channeling is very distinct in its own universe, and I think it's a form of medium. I think so. There's a couple of different forms of mediumship. Like the seance one is the one that sticks in my mind. Um, but I explored one for a few years and did this through channeling. Did this through uh, her name is Agatha. Agatha, very old uh, witchy poo person from, I don't know, like 16s or 1700s or something like that, alive at the time. I don't think she's not a witch. She was just a medium. But what she had this unique ability to commune with what we call, and we might as well open this, ghosts or spirits that have been crossed over. So all of that is an interpretation of what happens after death. It doesn't mean it's finite. There's no standards in creation. Um, Everything is subjective. The only thing that's existing constant are the laws. So the laws of the creation. So, anyways, I was looking at this idea of uh, talking to Agatha, and what she does is, let's consider a ghost for a minute. This is an ability. We're gonna so people can learn this, and I taught one lady, um, two to do this, Linda and Taylor. So, anyways, um, what you do is you must look at why ghosts are ghosts. A lot of people put their own definitions on why ghosts are ghosts. They need to clear something, or their work isn't here done. There's got to be a reason behind it. It's kind of like when humans uh, look at their dogs and cats and say, well, this is what the dog's thinking, this is what the cat's thinking. And it's like, you have no fucking idea what the dog or cat's thinking. You're thinking for them, which is, of course, their internal idea. And that's not right or wrong, that's just understood. So, in the idea of mediumship, when there is a ghost that hasn't passed over, it's not that he hasn't passed over in that idea. Uh, well, I guess you could apply it like that. I never thought of it like that because I never referenced it to passing over. They don't know they're dead. They don't know they're dead. That's the thing. Because everything is physical reality is only physical because your senses tells you it's physical. It has the attributes of it, and it's truly just a vibrational light show. We're on a holodeck, and it's all being interpreted inside our head, which is freaky for a lot of people. It's part of our ability as creators to create experiences, truly. So, anyways, the nature of this mediumship, the work that I did, was communing with ghosts that don't know they're dead. Probably on YouTube you can find this. There is a couple of repeating ghost scenes, and it doesn't happen in any particular order. It happens kind of randomly, but they've set up cameras and they see these ghosts, right? And both of these that jump out at me are a civil war in America during the Civil War. Really, really tremendous times, tough times, brother against brother, the North and South. You're killing your own Americans. It was a time uh, that divided the nation, right? So it was very emotionally stacked. And these guys that died were young kids and 15, 16 years old, and they didn't realize they were dead. They don't realize that they're not the body anymore, and they continue in these loops. Now, in their little mind, time is not moving for them. Time is only moving whatever the construct of that mind allows to understand as its life. So it can loop its life for 20 seconds or loop its life for maybe 3 or 4 days. And then it just continues to repeat, and the memory is not in place to carry on, and realizing it's not dead. So they have these cameras set up, in particular, like Antietam, the Battle of Antietam, and they have views of these ghosts reappearing. One guy always is reloading the cannon, and then you see him get knocked down, and then it repeats. He comes out from the right side, reloads the cannon, and then he gets knocked down. So it looks like he got blown up. So that scene keeps repeating, and they finally filmed it, and they filmed another mass of soldiers. But whatever, people do about their own interpretation as subjectively theirs. That's not the point. The point is they didn't know they were dead. So Agatha said an ability of mediumship to where you put yourself into uh, vibrationally put yourself into their loop, and you introduce yourself somewhere in that loop and give them the means to realize that they're dead. And it takes us takes practice. It takes practice. You know, that's why people are asking me, ask the ghost, why are you here? What is your purpose? And they're like talking Chinese algebra to these fucking people they don't know they're dead, and they're hearing these fucking strange voices asking them why they're here. They think you're the fucking ghost because they don't know they're dead. So you have to introduce yourself as a vibrational idea of presence, whether it starts in a voice or they physically can see you. And that's the goal, is to match their frequency so you can project an image of yourself in there as whatever's conducive to have. You don't have to worry about, because the vibration will take care of that on how you appear to them. So you don't have to dress in proper clothes and stuff like that, because it's going to be translated by them and it's going to be accepted in whatever way they accept it. That's not up to you. So you don't have to take those measures. And of course, humans get all busy to try to make everything perfect, because that's all they do is just keep themselves busy and entertained with emotion or purpose or whatever the fuck they're thinking today. So anyway, so you introduce yourself into that loop and you become friendly with them. It may take you 10, 15 sessions. And then you all of a sudden realize, help them, it was that they're dead. It was kind of like the movie The Sixth Sense. The little boy knew that Bruce Willis was dead, but Bruce didn't know he was fucking dead. He had to realize that he was dead. Once he realized he was dead, then he can go. And that's when you can go ahead and take off. And it's been represented in many different ways over the years. Kind of like I think one of the absolute best representation of this idea is the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They didn't know they were dead. They had no clue that they were ghosts living in a house. They didn't understand that. So that's what my practicum came. So I practiced with Agatha for years, and then I was able to teach it and release some ghosts. I don't do it very often. If I get a ghost request or something like that, if it manifests in my life, then I'll go and see if it's the right fit for me to do it or something like that. But nothing in the idea of recent. But that is an ability of a medium, is to put yourself into, project yourself into, consciously into the presence of this ghost. Now, if you go to a place that has a ghost looping in it, and remember the loops can be 5 years apart. They can be 5 years apart to manifest in the physical, but it's still in the presence of that location, so you can understand that the loop is happening. See, their time and our time are completely different. That's one of the tragedies of humanity, is they always absolutely think whatever their world is enacted in eternity. Every universe, everything is the same. No, it's fucking not. It's not the same. It's finite in the idea of stability. It's needed to have a projection of standardization as humans' appetite. But what it is actually unique. Unique. Everything is unique. Creation shows you that we're never going to be held to a standard. We're changing all the time, and despite how much we kick and scream and make all these bullshit laws to keep things what they're supposed to be instead of what they are, then you just find your own struggles. So this mediumship allows you to move into that kind of a frequency. Now that's the mediumship that I've was experienced. Now I know there's the seance one where they can actually allow the medium, uh, like in Whoopi Goldberg in that movie, allow the spirit to sit in the body and then come through and be be that physical conduit for them. So that's interesting. I never experienced that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. There's also the Oja, the table board with the letters where they can write words to communicate.
The Ouija
That's
board?
yes,
Okay, the Ouija board. Yeah, okay,
the
yeah.
Ouija. Yes,
Yeah, Ouija
that's
board.
another way. There's another way to communicate uh, and to have to see. But you're right.
I think
It's
that's
very
Abraham. Abraham started channeling. Esther started channeling with the Ouija board.
yeah.
Oh no, no, it was it may have been Esther. I don't know. It was Jane Roberts. Jane Roberts is with the Seth material way back in the '60s when she started her ESP classes, contacting Seth at the very beginning. That was her frequency match and her ability that with communicating and having the board itself be the medium to allow this internal
Communication. Yeah.
communication to take place. Exactly. Go ahead.
But I was saying it's interesting, right? To this way that the living have to um, seeing everything through one way of being, not realizing that if a spirit world exists, is it is not submitted to the same rules, to the same physicality, to the same presence, that it ought to be different from our physicality, because if it was the same, well, it will be here now. We will have it in the same plane and not
Yeah.
have different planes, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I find it really fascinating to then to experience it and see how very often, as you were saying, the questions that are asked are always coming from that pre-requirement, or that inability to just admit that it's different, it's something else. And maybe also they are not attached to a memory,
Yeah.
to a experience, whereas the human will still be stuck with the memory of what happened when grandma said something, and then the child reacted and was nasty, and they are still thinking that grandma is suffering because of that experience, even when she died and she didn't let the
Yeah. Well,
grandma
yeah,
has
that's them
already,
carrying that on. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
projecting it, right, and say they're still suffering because of that. No, they not.
They're
They're
not
passed
suffering.
over. They're gone,
That's
right.
your interpretation. So that's a good point. Let's anyone out there who's going to engage with a medium, leave your memory at home. Whatever baggage you're carrying, leave it the fuck at home. Shut your fucking mouth. Don't get diarrhea of the mouth, and don't have expectations, and don't put all that energy into it, because you want a clear frequency field for this to be what it's going to be. But if you go in there with expectations and needs and outcomes, you're just fucking it up three ways from Wednesday. Just leave it alone and let that occurrence be what it's going to be. If you need a particular outcome, or you need some conclusion, or oh my God, if you're looking for proof, you're fucked. Don't try to go in there with proof.
Exactly. Right. The proofs,
Oh
and
man, they always want,
also,
yeah. Oh
yeah, but also is that when you connect with these beings, what you do not know is what version do you have, because they may be ghost spirits, or they may be a representation of the being that you knew, uh, that is coming through, but in its pure form. So the mediumship doesn't have one way of connecting. So
Yeah, it doesn't
this means,
guarantee. Yeah,
yeah, so you may be connected to a version of the person that is just vibrationally much more advanced.
right,
So that means, what does it mean? It means that you may have still your memory and attaching a meaning to that memory and expecting to need to clarify, to go through those things, the unspoken words and all of that. Whereas the being that is coming through, they are not attached to that. They are absolutely past that. So if you have expectation that you have to clear, you will not have the match because
right.
it's simply not working.
Well, because you're putting a vibration on that moment. You're putting an
Yeah,
idea of expectation into that co-created moment. So if you're going to go to a medium, don't expect a version of the person that's in your memory. The
yeah,
medium is going to open up the connections to that essence of that person, that singular idea. This is just an incarnation. You think uh, spirits remain spirits after they leave human? You think they're still fucking around with human? Unless you're doing a ghost story, that's different. If you're trying to free a ghost, you can look at the reference of that ghost, and if you know that ghost was that person, there are valid ideas about that. But if you're just looking to connect with someone that's passed over on on the other side to find out where the key to the safety deposit box is or whatever, then you don't know what version you're going to get. You have to be open to the idea and allow these thing. But if you're going in there or blah blah blah,
yeah. It's exactly like channeling, right? You channel a being, you don't have always the same version of the being. You have vibrationally. Sometimes, and one example, you can read again on the Seth material when Jane Robbins talks about Seth Chu. Seth Chu is a version of Seth that is vibrationally more, let's say, advanced than the Seth that she is more acquainted with. But even
right?
when I say the Seth she's
Same
more
being,
acquainted with, yeah,
yeah, same being, but just a different, let's say, a space time continuum or a different version that's operating in a different frequency, you know?
yes. And I think that of what is has been uh, reported to us, that is a very good example because it has been very documented and very well documented. So and in the mediumship is the same thing, is that you as we were saying, you think that you are connecting with your mother, but actually that is connected with is yes your mother, but it's in a vibrational state that is much more that is different from what you have been acquainted as
Exactly.
a human.
Because the human incarnation of your mother is no longer being expressed. So you're going to get the version of the being that created the expression. It's like how about this? It's like you dress up for Halloween and you dress up as a particular character, and then you go to a Halloween party and you play that character. But when you're back home, you don't play the character anymore. So when you're connecting to the person that's taken off the costume and is not playing that character.
Yeah.
They're back being at home themselves. So you always have to understand that it would behoove you rather to understand that the version of the person that you're calling forth is the being, not the expectation of what you it was on Earth. You know, that's why this
And I
one lady I did a channeling for was really harping on trying to prove it was her, and she wanted to know that. And a couple people want these ideas. So if you're a medium out there, or if you're a channeler out there, definitely set a precedence about expectations and don't lack it and try to give them something that they're because believe me, for me, my experience, if someone wants something out of you and they're not going to get it, with the idea if you're a true channel to yourself, and they're coming in with expectations and needs, and then it's usually disappointing. So I would pass on those ideas when people want to talk to their dead brother and why he committed suicide and all that horseshit, um, of causality and reason for their own pain, when their own pain is their own subjective universe created. That's their interpretation of things. So, anyways, I would look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to forget that the experience is still experienced through the human side. So that's a human experience that we are having.
Exactly. It's a human experience. Remember, we're creators incarnating as humans, and we have a playground in front of us. So, through observation, self awareness, and vibrational understanding of your own truth, you can explore that without without it being a train wreck. You can explore it for the wisdom that it has, the intelligence and the greatness of being a human, and incarnating in this idea of separation and playing with all the stuff that are available. One of the great things is channeling and mediumship and psychics and uh, Reiki healers, and different ideas of pranic healers and whatever. All these wonderful things we get to explore. As long as you don't put an outcome on it, don't try to be successful, and don't try to make a lot of money and make a name for yourself. Then you're just lacking it. Then you're putting all the human reasons onto it, and that just dirties with the muddy water of lack. You know, allow yourself to be open and explore these things with no outcome, and that's where the proof reveals itself without being proven. It's an internal relationship of self love and self realization and self worthiness. So it becomes about the internal journey and not the external journey. Well, when I started channeling back in 2013, um, I can say that now. Back in 13, because it's a new century. Back in 13, we don't have to say 2013 anymore, right? I just realized that because we're not talking about 1913. So back in 13, when I started channeling, I wanted to be a channel. I wanted to be a good channel. I wanted to be accepted. That was my ego driving it. So it's not wrong. I just had to start realizing it. Hey, if I'm going to improve, I got to let go of a lot of these stipulations my internal dialogue is telling me to do. So then the ability is offered in attraction. The skill set is offered in evolution. Kind of like Jane got a different version of Seth because she didn't hold on to the first version that she had. So my skills as a channeler evolved because I didn't hold on to the standards that got me to be a channeler, or try to pursue the expectations of what channeling is supposed to be, and all that human stuff, success and money and greatness and achievements. All those come anyway. They come because you're just being your awesome. That's natural. It doesn't happen in the time most people want it though. Most people don't have patience. But anyway,
Oh
we're
well,
back.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Um, that's very good. I mean, what what can one add to that? Anyway, it's. I know it's very difficult when you are in a situation that you have a goal, and or you have an achievement, or you have something in your mind and you want to do that, and it's difficult to be able to to make abstraction of all of that and just allow and just be right in there, and not push think and not have expectations. It's very difficult to be honest.
Very
Let's be
difficult.
honest, right? It's not what we learn to do, but
Yeah,
my
what we learn
experience.
to do is what? What did we learn to do? So people can
Oh,
understand this.
to make it
We
happen.
learn, bingo, to make it happen, to pursue it, to go get it done. That's what we learn. So it's counterproductive. It's totally counterproductive to allow and not do anything. But the magic and the law of attraction supersedes any pursuit. You just have to have patience
Yeah.
and allowance and trust.
And that's one thing that I see right very very often is hard work, hard work, hard work. Oh, through hard work you achieve, you become right. And I, I mean, it works. Of course, it works through hard
It's for
work.
creators,
A
too,
lot of
through hard
works.
work.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because that's what is expected. So being able to do the same thing without hard work then becomes unavailable, not offered, not attracted.
Unavailable,
Um,
right.
yeah, that's she said it. Even though, even though it's possible to get there without the hard work, but it's not in the belief system, in the vibration, and yeah, hmm,
In
yes,
the idea of any skill set, there's always different ways to approach becoming a master at it, right? To become, a great tactician or exceptional at some job. And usually it comes with age and time and experience. You realize your mistakes, you get better is one tactic. And both ways work. What I got is it's not hard work to be a channel. For me, what was hard is the transcending of my internal belief systems, transcending my emotional truths that made me behave in ways that right now I would never behave, made me express because it didn't make me, it wasn't controlling me, it was me as my truth expressing those. But then realizing my behavior was based upon a belief system that gave me that truth, that gave me the emotional equation experience of that truth, and then it became up to me. So when I that was the hard work for me. And when you stop vibrating at those frequencies, and when you stop enacting misery or victimization or crybaby about them, and you start realizing maybe you need to look at yourself and what's going on with you and observe. One of the absolute most powerful tools a human can embrace is observation. Because when you start to observe, you're going to see exactly what the hell's going on with you if you're honest enough with yourself. If you're too big of an ego to realize that you're still blaming on everything on the outside, well, you're fucked. But if you can observe and see it yourself, that observation allowed me to see my beliefs. Now, what happened? Your beliefs go away, different frequencies are allowed to show up. Now, those frequencies or those intelligences were wisdom, were ideas of thoughts I could never think of because they didn't, where did they exist? They didn't exist in humanity. They didn't exist in my memory. It was my own fucking idea because I changed and I got different frequencies, different attraction thought input leading to different abilities, leading to different skill sets, leading to different ways to do my work. And it works. Now, it's hard
and me,
work about emotion, but it's not hard work. It's not like you work 9 to 5 and weekends and overtime. It's none of that shit. We're not talking about that kind of. Go ahead.
I was just adding mediumship is the same thing with the belief system. So when you go to a medium, when you do it or you ask for it, the experience is with belief system is what you got, right? If you express them, you go there with your belief systems, then well, you'll get exactly what your belief system are allowing you to have as an experience
Yes,
is the very same thing, right?
yes.
So
So I think
it's
mediumship is one of the. Uh, well, let's address this. Let's address something about that maybe blankets all of the abilities. Let's address the idea of spirituality itself. See, when people think of spirituality, they automatically take on whatever interpretive form of that defined idea is. So remember, when you become a medium, you're not supposed to act a certain way. Long Island Medium, the television show, showed you that only you have to dress up and sit around a table, and she just trusted her internal. So there's no true image of what it means. So when you find yourself attracting a reality to explore one of these abilities, don't posture the image that you think your memory is going to be successful. What does a channel look like? What does a medium look like? Are you supposed to wear some kind of dress and sit around? And how are you supposed to act? I used to go to this spiritual store here in town, and you can go in there and you can just sense the vibration of absolute, oh, we're so spiritual. They were bowing and, you know, holding their hands together like they're praying and bowing. Oh, yeah. And it was just a fucking goddamn train wreck of just posturing. It was like everyone was at this circus, being this act. Here's the best act I have. So when you engage in these realities, and you get an opportunity to you always felt you were psychic, you always had things that come to you, you have voices in your head that tell you something, you're afraid of them. Those ideas are skill sets, or you can feel a temperament of self that goes beyond your own history as a human. You can feel that intuition, you can feel it. You're allowed to explore those, and those will be manifested through attraction without you pursuing them. Because when those things arrive, don't bring the mind into it and say, well, this is what it's supposed to look like. Because one of the things about channelings is everybody calls humans, oh, dear ones, dear ones, dear ones. That started in the fucking 70s or 80s. I don't know when it started, but they're calling everyone dear ones. And why
So
would they call you a dear one? Why am I a victim here? Why am I a less than? Why are these ideas more than us? They're not. They're not. There's no measurement on these things. So when you become something, don't pattern yourself off of what it is, what it looks like, what it's supposed to be. The biggest ridicules I got when I first started channeling was channelers don't cuss. I was like, fuck you, this one does. I was like, why? Why don't I? Why? Because what? These beings don't cuss because cussing is part of creation. So, but it's a bad part of creation. That's polarity. That's bullshit. So, when you're engaging in your no new thing, trust your internal self. Trust your Reiki is your Reiki. You can take the classes and learn it, but you're still going to put your spin on it. You're not going to confide to the idea of the image. You got to make it yours because that's the expansion of creation. We're not here to accomplish. We're here to expand and to know ourselves and evolve ourselves. We're not here to make ourselves pumping our chest, pounding our chest rather, and going, look what I did. Look what I did. I made poopy. Are you proud of me? Because I went poopy. Just some bullshit accomplishment. So I think these skill sets are very good to explore.
yes, Roxy, Spirit is telling me to tell you.
Roxy, Spirit's telling me to tell you that Spirit, Spirit who? You mean you?
I mean, generally, that's what it is, right?
I know, I know.
But
But see, those were processes. They're not wrong. But when evolution presents itself, get off of the fucking tradition cycle and move forward. Move
yes,
forward.
and
And you
own
don't move
it.
forward in what is common. You move forward in self intuition and self trust and self exploration. Go ahead.
Yeah, and own it. It's
Own it.
it's fine, right? You do
Yeah.
not need to. It's maybe it's a formulation, or it's a way to express it, absolutely, but it takes away the it's like, as you were saying, gives an idea of superiority and inferiority, the superiority of the communicator and the inferiority of the receiver of the communication. And you say, well, no, we act on a plan of equality, right? We are all at the same, right? We have the same. We are one. That's the expression of the one. We are all equal because we are all part of the one. So there is no superiority, inferiority, or whatever.
None.
And and that is then when that is expressed, is that you can use that as an understanding of the one that is talking, right? The belief system, where they come from personally. There is a belief system behind that. The dear one is a belief system.
Yes. Yes.
And so, and again, it's not right or wrong, it's the way they choose to
Not
express
right or wrong. It's
themselves.
choice. But each
Choice.
person has the ability to respond to their own reality. That's what they need to say, not the responsibility, the ability to respond, change their world. And I think a lot of these things are available for us to explore, you know? So I think mediumship is one of the greatest untapped worlds because it got faddish in the 1900s, 20th century, 18 to 1900s. It was very faddish and very looked at, and it kind of died out because we got sciencey, we got very very scientific. You know, starting in the 30s and the 40s, we start computers start coming, and then we got technological, and we went to the moon. Very very quick. From going to horse and buggy in less than 100 years, we're on the fucking moon. You know, so that was a very very quick idea, and so spirituality kind of took a back seat, and then and somewhere in the 80s, 87, there was this convergence, is what they call it, and that's a tribute to whether you to believe that or not is subjective, but that's when there was more of an awakening, more of a realization, and we moved through that idea. So I think this spirituality calling, awakening of humanity, is not something that's going to save the world, and we're all going to become these fucking monks wearing diapers and eating leaves. We're not going to do anything, in our history. What we're doing is realizing ourselves as a creature of expression here on humanity, as also a collective, and we can represent the collective nature of humanity as we represent the collective nature of ourselves. So I think that's going to appear. And then, of course, we have the playground. And I think these abilities that we've been talking about. What was our first one we talked about? Channeling.
Yes.
And what was last week?
Healing.
Healing, right? And then this week is mediumship. So, and I guess that goes. Does that? Do you think that goes right along with psychic in a way? Well, the version of my mediumship doesn't, because that's direct work with ghosts and stuff. Or my branch of mediumship, not version, branch is better said. Branch of mediumship is that, because there's other means to mediums, and spiritual connection, and you know saying Leroy's here in the room. What do you have to ask them? That kind of idea. But what do you think about psychics? There's other ones too. There's other ones we can get into.
Yes. Well, everything is valid. Everything works. Everything is bringing something, right, to our experience. And uh, it's the only thing. What I wanted to say is, I have a view on spirituality, the word, or the it's so confusing, and it's something that has been used to put an abuse, right, with an idea
What is it?
of religion, and a lot of things, where I wonder, what does it really mean in the end, right? What is the meaning that is remaining with it? What can we really connect with when we talk about spirituality. What are we talking about in the end?
right?
And for me, I tend to not consider it as anything except that it's a relationship with me. So I tend to take the spiritual and say, well, the spiritual is me. I am it. I am whatever I am, whatever I I choose, I decide, whatever I believe, whatever. And so when I think about spiritual, then I immediately linked it to the being. The being is the spiritual. There is no external spirituality. There is nothing, right? Something that I can say, oh, that's spiritual. That is the definition of spiritual or spirituality. There is a spiritual world to which, or community to which I want to belong to, right? And I said, no, no, nothing of the sort. For me, I am it.
Right.
Because
But
I
we're also,
cannot connect it any other way.
well, yes, you can. I'll show you how. You're co-creating. When you co-create, okay, there's a business world, isn't there?
Hmm.
So there's a
Yes.
spiritual world. But I understand where you're coming from because they put so many stipulations on it.
Yes.
But there is the idea for me, okay, about a spiritual world. The spiritual world involves channelers and mediums and psychics and things like that that we co-create as a means of playground. It's a sandbox, so to speak. But of course, as you say, of course it belongs to you, but it doesn't negate others and what
No.
their
No. No.
versions are. It never negates the outside because the outside is the unconditional truth of creation knowing itself. It's how you relate to it. So I think, if we're to categorize spirituality, abilities, abilities, because religion is spiritual. Religion is believing in gods and angels and demons, right? Isn't it? Christ conscience, God that's never been seen, never heard, except through the Son, if you believe in that idea. But then there's other spiritual ideas that were religions, paganism and Taoism, and well, those weren't religions; those were ways of life. But they were working in the spiritual world, you know. So that involves what's beyond the physical. And if we are categorizing in abilities, we have channeling, healing, mediumship, psychic, and there's other ideas. We didn't touch on psychic yet. We haven't filled that. But there's tarot card readers. There's rune readers. Um, I have a particular skill set called scrying. I learned that through my practice of witchcraft when I was uh, started out. That was one of the abilities that came to hone my skills. And as I've evolved that, I've evolved scrying, which is uh, it's a bowl and the water, and then you go there and you look at visions. And if there's someone particular, the scrying bowl reveals the vision to you, and then you can relay the vision to whoever's looking. So that was a form. So these are spiritual abilities that go beyond the idea of the business ability. I have an MBA and I'm a CEO of a company. Now that's a great ability, but that's a business world, you know. So I was just talking about in the idea of a spiritual world and what's involved in that. So I think um, I don't know. I look at there's a lot of psychics out there. When we go to these festivals and stuff, a lot of people doing readings, psychic readings. So I think psychic is a very, very big world to explore. So maybe next week we explore psychics and maybe tarot card readers or such an such an idea of those things. Because I never got the runes because it never came to me. we can explore witchcraft too. You know, being a witch and
Oh
all, we can
yes,
explore that.
absolutely. Witchcraft.
Yeah,
You were talking about the runes? Yeah, I use the runes.
yeah. You'd use runes, right?
Yes, I
No,
do.
talk to me about those a little bit.
Well, runes are the Nordic runes, at least those that I'm using, right from the Scandinavian countries and Celtic countries, right?
Got it.
Great Britain, and so there are many, and they come from. We say there have been communicated some in some way. They are also part of a alphabet. They were used right for writing, and so each letter or each rune has a meaning, has a interpretation that can be given to it, and they also have a connection with a god, a Nordic god, which can be Odin, Thor, Freya, etc., etc.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
gods,
Morgan,
and
Morgana. I think so. Can't
no,
remember.
the Fae Morgana, no,
No.
no,
Okay.
not that I know, not those that I'm using. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Gotcha.
I'm not
Okay.
aware of it. Um, and they were used from what we know now, right? We give them these interpretations, and there is magic with it, or vibration, or you. I have here some cards that are used with runes. You can write them on. They can be written on stones, and they say it's a very good way to channel a rune is through the stone, and then you put them and you can use them, and they have many meanings. So they can be used for healing, they can be used for let's say power work, and all of that depends often with the gods they are related. So if you have, for instance, the goddess Freya, you'll have a rune that is more connected with motherhood, with fertility, with the ground, with the soil. These kind of things. You have Thor. Thor is gonna be more of the power, the thunder, this kind of thing. So and
Yeah.
then in the work that you can do with this is that it uh, you can have you can use it as a premonition also, right? To have an idea. Uh, is this I want to have a child? Is there the fertility to have a child? For instance, if you want to have something like that, or you can use them to facilitate the fertility in a woman to have a child, or you can use it uh, in some magic where you want to manifest something. You can uh, take your you take your runes, and then you write them. You use them that way. It's vibration. You connect with them, you channel them, you express them, and then you manifest.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
And then but there's more also, because runes are also connected with a stone.
Yeah.
You
You
have
connect them with the
crystals.
stone.
Yeah, with no, not stone, sorry,
Okay.
crystals. What do you have?
You talking
You
about like
want to say something?
materials?
Yeah, materials. The it can be quartz,
Oh yeah, particular kinds of ideas. Okay, I got you.
right? And you can connect with them. You can also connect them with a particular month, um, equinox, etc., etc. They have, so they can facilitate uh, the connection with this period, with the
Yeah, so that's
experiences.
that's an ability and a skill set.
Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about a couple of things next week. Psychics, crystal. There's a lot of crystal people out there that work with work with crystals, things like that.
yeah.
Maybe like an educational program. You should say, if she's a crystal worker, let's bring her on and have her explain crystal, or him.
Yeah,
But something
because
like
right.
that. Maybe we just keep dabbling and then maybe we explore something particular with another person.
Yeah, but this also to say that, right, when you explore something like the runes, is that with the runes then you can have many other things that come in. So the right was, as I was saying, the healing, but also the crystals that are so that you connect them together. When I'm doing Reiki, I can use the runes,
Makes sense. Sure.
channel them, right? It,
Yeah.
it's 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 that when we do something, we do not have to confine ourselves or limit ourselves to that idea. That idea is connected with other ideas, and
Well,
and
yeah.
so that it's a whole thing, that it's all together
And I
that you
think that's
can
part of the
use.
expansion of it. You can use those familiarities and then use them together and expand your own little idea of alchemy. So yeah, next week we'll do a little witchcraft. Uh, we haven't even touched on magician magic yet. So I guess that
No,
would be in nature.
we haven't yet.
Anyways, we'll do it again next week. You good? I think we talked
Yeah,
about enough today. If there's any other subject,
abs-
we'll be going too long. So very good. Very good, Max. Very good, guys. Well, we thank you all for tuning in to the Madden God podcast. You can find me at odysseyofascension.com or on YouTube, Odyssey of Ascension. Max, go ahead with yours.
you can find me to breakfastwithmax.com. Same on YouTube, Breakfast with Max. And so thank you again for connecting with us, and we will see you next week.
Appreciate you guys tuning in with us. See you all next week. Thanks again.
Bye bye.